Okay, so obviously trying to utilize those positions as much as we can, and then the benefit of putting things like our squats after our mobility section is it's going to solidify the range that we gain. Okay, so if you go from, say, with our ankle stretch, being able to get your hands or get your fist away from the wall, and then all of a sudden after our stretches, you can then get your fist and thumb away from the wall, getting into end of range motions like a squat is going to help solidify that range that you've gained. So next week or tomorrow, when you come back to things like a squat, you've then solidified that range. You don't have to go back to the very start. Okay, so a little benefit there from our mobility coming first. Okay, now as always, main goal here is let you guys put this into your own training and before your own sessions. So if you've got any questions, again, just pop them into the chat there, and I'll try answer the best I can. Okay, so first one, we're going to go for our ankles. We're then going to move to our hips and then to our T-spine, and then we'll then cover our receiving position. Okay. So first one, all we're going for is a mobility test. So testing the dorsiflexion of our ankle. Now we started with this one last week. All we're doing is setting up in front of a wall, door, wherever you can find, just solid structure. And we're going to sit up from a kneeling position. Okay, from there, I'm then going to bring one hand in contact with the wall. So if I've got my left foot forward, so I'm going to test my left ankle, I'm going to bring my left hand down to the floor. Okay, so from there, get your fist in contact with the wall or whatever object you're using, and then bring your foot to the other side of your fist. Okay, from there, you then push your knee over your toe and trying to get your knee in contact with the wall or door. Okay, now as you come forward, make sure your foot stays flat and your knees tracking straight over your toe there. Okay, if you can get your knee to touch the wall, great. Come a thumb and a fist distance away from the wall there. Okay, so increase that range a little bit, and then same again. Push your knee over your toe. Try to get your knee to touch the wall there. Okay, just get your foot as far away from the wall as you can before you start to lose the ability to get your knee to touch the wall, and then swap sides, test on the other foot as well. Okay, so make sure again that heel stays in contact with the floor, and you're driving your knee straight over your toe there. Good, so just testing that on each side, see how far you can get your foot away from the wall, and then you can then swap sides and rest. Okay, then a great test that we can easily retest, just testing our ability to get our knee over our toe, which again is nice and specific to things like our squat. Okay, it's okay to use loads. So not for this one. So for that test, Jen, it's just going to be body weight, and then for our increasing range of motion, so our stretches, that is where we can then use weight and resistance. Okay, so just for that test, if you think in a squat, you don't have a kettlebell, push your knee over your toe, so we're just trying to recreate that as much as we can. Okay, so that's your first one there. Try remember how far away you got your foot from the wall. We're then going to come back and retest that once we've gone through our ankle mobility section. Okay, so first one is just going to be our foot rollout. So with your mop panel, bar, whatever object you've got, we're going to come from hands and knees. One foot's going to be on top of the bar or whatever you're using. We're then going to apply slight pressure on top of our knee, and you're then rolling from your toe to your heel and then back. Okay, this is a nice and steady rollout of the fascia in the bottom of the foot, and then we're trying to apply slight pressure, and as we go through, we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. As we go through our 30 seconds, you can then increase that resistance. Okay, you're looking for, again, a stretching, almost like a cracking and popping on the bottom of the foot. And then nice and steady, find those sticking points, keep that foot moving. We're going to go for 2 30-second holds there. Okay? So if there's any questions, pop them into the chat just now. And if not, I'll start you up with that 30 seconds. Okay? If we're ready, we'll go in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So 30 seconds on this side. Remember, just start with a slight pressure there. Keep that foot moving. Go all the way from your toe to your heel and then back. If you find a tight point, keep rolling over that area until it loosens off. Again, all we're trying to do is loosen off the muscles in the bottom of that foot and then up through the ankle, through the calf. Okay, almost there. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds, swap feet, and then we're going to go for the same again. Okay, so just slight pressure to begin with, and then you can then increase from there. Okay, 3, 2, 1, off you go. 30 seconds again on that other side. Just slight pressure, keep that foot moving. looking for any sticking points you can find. Good. As we go through that time, remember, try apply a little more pressure. Increase that stretch slightly. You've got 5 seconds left, team. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Rest up there. Now I'll give you 20 seconds of rest, and we're going to go back to the start. So back to whatever foot you started on, and we're going to go for one more set of 30 seconds on each side. Okay, so take that rest. We'll go in again in about 10 seconds. So bottom of the foot should be a little bit looser this time, so you can start with a little more pressure. 5 seconds, team. 3, 2, 1. Okay, back to whatever foot you started on. Same again, just 30 seconds. Start nice and easy, and then increase that pressure. Just look for any sticking points through that foot. Nice work, team. 10 seconds left. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Okay, 10 seconds, swap feet, and then we're going to go for the same again. We'll go in 3, 2, 1, off you go. Good, so just slight pressure there. Keep that foot moving. Find any sticking points you can. Nice work, team. 10 seconds left. Keep that foot moving. Keep increasing that pressure. Feel that stretch. 3, 2, 1. Okay, rest there. So first one done. Next one, we're going to move on to our weighted dorsiflexions. Okay. First one is just going to be nice and simple. Everyone's going to go for the same one. And then from there, we'll then move a little more specific to each person. Okay. So from your hands and knees, getting any weighted object you can find. If you don't have one, that's fine also. Okay. So just from the hands and knees, recreating the same position we had for our first mobility test. Okay. From there, if you have that weighted object, we're going to pop it on top of the knee. And then we're trying to get our knee over our toe. This time you're letting that heel come off the floor just about an inch or so. Okay? So trying to get your knee even further over your toe, increase that range from a mobility test, and then hold for a second when you find that stretch, and then you can then ease back off. Okay? So push your knee over the toe, find that stretch all the way through the back of the ankle, and then ease off again. Okay? If you've not got any weight, that's fine. Just both hands on top of the knee, press the knee over the toe, hold for a second, ease off. Okay? We're going for 5. So 1 being get your knee over your toe, find that stretch, pause for seconds, and then come back to a nice neutral position. Okay? You're going to do that 5 times, then you can then swap legs. Okay? When you're ready, team, you can start with your 5 reps. So again, this time, let your heel come off the floor just about an inch or so. Go there, so try get your knee even further over your toes. Good. 5 on each side. Take that nice and steady. Remember, pause for a second when you find that end of range motion. Good. So 5 on each side, and then you can then rest up. We're going to go for 2 sets of that. Good, team. Really nice. We're just trying to get that knee moving over the toes. Again, nice and specific to our squat when we move on to it next. Okay, so once you're through 5 on each side, you can rest up. Just rest as needed. So I take about 20, 30 seconds of rest, and then you can then go back to the start. Looking for the same again, okay? That ankle should be getting looser and looser. So see if you can keep pressing that knee over the toe, increasing that range slightly. Good, team. 5 on each side again, and then you can then rest up. So again, main places we should be feeling this is through the back of the ankle, potentially up through the calf, or even through the front of that foot, through the front of the ankle, okay? So go for 5 on each side, and then we'll move to a little more specific to where you're feeling that stretch. Nice work, team. Go for those 5 on each side, then you can then rest up. We'll move on to our next one. Okay, again, this is a great one if you struggle with that first mobility test, so you're not quite getting the range you want of knee over your toe. This is a great one for increasing that dorsiflexion range. And then again, that's going to transfer over to, as soon as we sit into that squat, we're asking those ankles to allow for that range, okay? Now, moving on to a little more specific to where you felt that mobility test, okay? So if when you try pressure your knee over your toe, you feel that stretch through the front of the foot, okay? So almost through the front of the foot, through the front of the ankle. Our first one is we're going to go for ankle distractions, okay? All we're looking for there is same set position. Now, ideally, we would do this with something like a band wrapped around the front of the ankle, but for just now, we can just do it with our hands, okay? So from that same set position, all you're going to do is bring both thumbs to the base of that foot, okay? So all we're looking for there is roughly where the shin meets the foot. You're going to apply pressure with both thumbs and then press your knee over your toe, okay? That's going to keep the front of the ankle back and then allow you to press your knee a little bit further over your toe, okay? So same again, we're going for 5 on each side there. Find that stretch. Press both knees in front of the toe. Make sure when you start and apply that pressure, your ankle is relaxed, okay? From there, you can then press the knee over the toe, allow that heel to come off the floor just slightly, and then come back, okay? So that's if you felt that stretch through the front of your ankle. If you felt it through the back, so through the back of the ankle, up through the calf, what we're going to go for is eccentric dorsiflexion, okay? So trying to find any sort of raised surface you can, okay? So for me, it's going to be a plate. Find yourself a stair, wherever you can get just a slightly raised surface, okay? All we're doing there is stepping onto that raised surface. You're going to come up onto your toes, okay? So try and squeeze that calf, get as high as you can. From there, you're then going to control yourself down. Let that heel drift back. You're going to feel that stretch through your ankle. Once your heel touches the floor, you're then going to bend your knee slightly, okay? So whatever heel you've got back, you're going to bend that knee, okay? That's where you're going to feel that stretch all the way through the ankle and through that calf, okay? So you're up onto your toes to start. Keep that leg straight. You're going to come down to the floor. Nice and controlled there. Let your heel touch the floor and then bend your knee. Get that knee shooting over the toe, okay? That's if you felt that stretch through the back of the ankle up through the calf, okay? So either one, we're going for 5 reps on each side. You can go do that now. Pick one of those options. So you feel it through the front of the ankle, go for slight pressure in the front of the ankle, and then again, from hands and knees, press your knee over your toe. If you felt it through your calf, through the back of that ankle, you're going to find yourself a raised surface, control yourself down, keeping that leg straight, and then once your heel touches the floor, allow that back knee to bend, okay? Either one, when you find that stretch, pause for a second, ease off, and then go back in, okay? 5 on each side there. Good, team. So key here is keeping that control. Trying to manipulate that ankle as much as we can, increasing the range on each one. Good, so 5 on each side, and then you can then rest up again. Jill, just make sure you're keeping as much control on the way down as you can. So when you get to a full extension, it's a super slow descent. And then once your heel touches the floor, you can then bend that knee. Good. Okay, 5 on each side, then you can then rest up. Okay, so if you're still working, that's fine. Keep working. We're going to talk through our next one, which is just going to be retesting our first one. Okay, so back to the wall, door, whatever you used. We're going to come back down to our hands and our knees. Start with, so say if you got a fist away from the wall last time, start with your fist against the wall. If you're able to get a thumb and a fist distance away from the wall, go for that. All we're doing is retesting that range. Okay, ideally, we should be able to press our knee a little bit further over our toe there. Increase that range of motion slightly. Okay, so go for that one again. Again, just test on each side. Get that foot as far away from the wall as you can, whilst making sure your foot stays flat for this one. Okay, so just test that on each side, and then you can rest up. Good, okay, so test that on each side. If you've increased your range, great. Chances are it'll just be a slight increase. Obviously, the more we go through this, the more we practice, the more our range will increase. Okay? Now, once you've tested on each leg, you can rest up. We're going to move to our hips next. Okay, so first one for our hips, we're going to work on those hip flexors, okay? Nice and specific if you've ever felt any sort of tightness through the front of your hip there as you squat down, okay? Again, it's going to help us when we think about our overhead squat, especially if we're trying to get our hands up. If we've got tight hip flexors, it's even harder to keep your chest up, okay? So first one, we're going to come from our lunge, okay? Main things looking for there, nice vertical front shin, and your chest is tall, okay? So can everyone find that position just now? Now, we did this one last week, if you remember it. Okay, so from that lunge base, all you're going to do is send your hips forward and down. Okay, so keeping that chest tall, hips go forward and down. You'll feel that stretch increase through the back leg. Okay, should just be through the front of the hip there. If you feel it slightly in the front leg through the groin, that's fine. Okay, so hips go forward and down. We're going to hold that for 15 seconds. Okay, we'll start in 2, 1. 15 seconds there. Get your hips as low to the ground as you can, keeping that chest tall. Okay, 3, 2, 1. You can relax there. Try hold that lunge position still. Okay, next one, we're going to find that stretch again. So hips go forward and down. We're then going to bring one hand, and we're going to rotate away from our back leg. Okay, so I've got my right leg back. You're going to rotate to the left. If you've got your left leg back, you're going to rotate to the right. Okay, your goal is to reach around and touch your back heel. Okay, so again, bonus points to anyone who can do that. But all we're going to do is rotate away from our back leg, keeping that chest tall, keep the hips going forward and down. Okay, if everyone's clear there, we're going to go in 3, 2, 1, 15 seconds again. Okay, rotate away from your back leg, try touch your back heel, keep those hips going forward and down. Okay, you should feel a nice stretch through that back leg. Okay, keep pulling, almost there. 2, 1. Okay, relax. Back into that lunge again. Now, next one, we're going to go for our lateral flexion. So I've got my right leg back. I'm going to bring my right hand up over my head. Okay, same again, left leg back. You're going to bring your left hand up over your head. Okay, keeping that chest tall. Hips are still going forward and down. I'm going to bring my hand up, reach as far over as I can. You're again going to feel that stretch through the back leg. It will then move up through your midline and potentially through your lat as well. Okay, so find that stretch just now, reach up and over your head. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Okay, 15 seconds again. Keep those hips going forward. You should be feeling that back leg loosen off a little bit as we go through this. Good, keep pressing those hips forward and down, keep reaching over. 2, 1, and relax. Okay, back into that lunge. Last one, we're going to put the two together. Okay, so bring that hand up and over. As you do that, you're going to rotate around, try touch your back heel, put both those stretches together, okay? You'll feel this one potentially throughout the body, but main focus is on that back leg and then through the midline, through our lat, okay? So reaching up and over. As you do that, rotate around, try touch your back heel. We're going to go in 2, 1. Last one, team, 15 seconds. Get those hips as far forward as you can, reach up and over, and then rotate away from that back leg. Okay, putting all those stretches together. Keep forcing those hips down. You're almost there. 2, 1. Very nice. Okay, rest. You can stand up, shake out your legs. I'll give you a second. But again, you should have been feeling that mainly through that back leg, through the front of the hip. Okay? So a little more rest, and then we're going to swap sides, go for the same again. If this is hurting your knee, so hurting your back knee, having it on the floor, just grab yourself something like a pillow or a mat, and then just put it on that back knee, just to ease some of that pain. Okay, so if you are feeling it in that knee at all. Okay, so first one, find yourself that lunge stance. So again, chest is tall, nice vertical front shin. And then from there, we're then going to force our hips forward and down. Okay? We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. So make sure you're starting on the other side there. Force hips forward and down. Keep that trunk tall. Good. You should be feeling that all the way through the back leg there. 2, 1. Okay, rest there. Should you feel this through your glutes? So potentially, if you want to make sure it's through your hips, so if you're feeling this through your lower back at all, squeezing your glutes will help put it through your hips. Okay, so ideally we shouldn't be feeling our glutes too much, but squeezing your glutes will help feel it through the front of your hip a little bit more and less through your lower back. Okay? So next one, we're going to go for that rotate away from the back leg. Okay, so now I've got my left leg back. I'm going to rotate to the right, force those hips forward and down. Again, bonus points to anyone who can touch that back heel. Okay, we'll go in 3, 2, 1, off heel. So rotate over, try touch that back heel. I'm not even close. Almost there, team. Keep forcing those hips forward. 2, 1. Okay, and rest. So back to that lunge, and then we're going to go for that lateral flexion. So bring in, I've got my left leg back, and we're going to bring my left hand up and over. We're going to reach as far over as we can. You'll now feel that stretch through the hip, through the side, and then through the lat as well. Okay, we'll go in 3, 2, 1, off heel. So all of these will help, especially with keeping your chest tall in that squat, and then allowing your hips to go back and down when you start off that squat as well. Almost there, team. 2, 1. Okay, rest. Now, when you're ready, we'll go for our last one. So putting the two together, reach up and over, rotate away from that back leg. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So reach up as far as you can, rotate back. Almost there. 3, 2, 1. Okay, rest up. So I'll give you a second. You should be feeling that your front of your hips are nice and loose now. Okay, so that's our first hip stretch done. We're then going to move on to some adductor stretches. Okay, so if you can grab your bar, lat panel, whatever you're using, we're going to need that for the next one. Okay, so next one, we're going to focus on our adductors. Okay, so again, key to unlocking that squat, making sure we can drive our knees out whilst keeping that chest tall. Okay, if you felt that tightness through the inside of your legs, this one's going to help you especially. Okay, so we're going to come from a seated position now. Keeping that chest tall, I'm going to bring my feet nice and wide. So just wider than you'd have them in something like a sumo stance. Okay, not too wide, we still want to be able to keep our knees down in contact with the floor. Okay, so ideally the back of our kneecaps will be pressed down through the floor there. Okay, you're then going to grab hold of your bar, mat panel, whatever you're using. Okay, pull it nice and close to you, so it should be in contact with your heels there. You're then going to use that as a lever, pull your chest down to the floor as much as you can. Again, press your kneecaps through the floor, get that chest nice and low. That's where you'll feel that stretch all the way through the inside of the hip. Okay, if that's too much for you now, what we're going to do is come from a standing position, bring your feet again to that just wider than sumo stance. You're then going to hinge down, press your bum back towards the wall, let that chest sink down as well. Okay, so if that seated stretch was too much, go for that standing side split. Okay, now whichever one you're going to go for, we're going to hold that for 30 seconds. We're then going to try increase that stretch slightly. Okay, so find yourself, whatever position you're going to go for, We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let that chest fall down. Jill, bring your feet slightly wider. Good, that's better. Okay, let that chest fall forward. Don't worry about pulling yourself down too much just now. Just let that body open up. You've got 10 seconds, team. Okay, we're going to increase that stretch in 3, 2, 1. Try force yourself down a little bit lower. This is where you can now use that bar to pull yourself down. Get that chest as close to the floor as you can.
Ouch, Archie.
Good, team. Almost there. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, rest. Now you can then relax there. So you should have felt that all the way through the inside of your hip. Again, that's going to help allowing those knees to drive out in your squat. Okay, so rest up there. We're going to move on to our next one. Ideally, so for a rough guided range motion there, you should be able to have that bar at least 3 hands width away from your hip. Okay, so in that seat position, bring one hand nice and close to your hips. You're then going to go for 3 hand widths away. If you can get your hands down to that bar, 3 hand widths away from your hip. That's a rough guide. That means you've got adequate mobility for things like a squat. Okay? So, adductor stretch done. We're going to go for our 90-90 hip rotations next. Okay, so have a rest there. We're going to go for our last one, just mobilizing those hips. Remember, we're going to start from that seat position, roughly where you would start in that squat. So feet just outside hip width, knees driving out, slight flexion of your knees there. Okay? From there, we're then going to rotate over to one side, keeping my chest tall. You then want to create those 90-degree angles through your legs. So from your hip to your knee, nice straight line, and then from your knee through your shin, nice straight line as well. Okay? From there, you're going to think about pulling your toes towards your shins. That'll increase that stretch slightly through the calves. And then ideally, both hips are going to be down driven through the floor. Okay, so both bum cheeks in contact with the floor. Okay? From there, you're then going to keep that chest tall, rotate over, and swap sides. Okay, that's 1 rep. We're going to make up 20 here. Okay, so again, keep that chest tall, rotate over, get both knees down towards the floor, pull your toes towards your shins, and then get both hips down towards the floor. Okay? Now, when you're ready, you're going to make up 20 reps there. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. But when you're ready, go for those 20 reps. Okay, finish off each one. Get both knees down towards the floor. Drive your hips down. Get that chest tall. And then think about pulling your toes towards your knees, keeping it nice and specific to your squat. Okay, so make up those 20 reps, then you can rest. How do you make both bum cheeks stay down? So it's just increasing the mobility through your hips. So as you go through those stretches, more time you spend in them, that'll then allow you to keep both hips down. So chances are you've just got a little bit of tension from your glute running through your quads or from inside your hip. But yeah, as you go through those reps, it'll loosen off. So remember, Jill, as you swap over, if you can keep both your knees bent and then flip your knees over. Yeah, good, there you go. That should make it a little bit harder. Good, so remember, keep that torso nice and vertical. So keep that chest up. Good, very nice. Make up those 20 reps, then you can rest. So as you go through those reps there, you should feel those hips loosen off. Gets a little bit easier to rotate your knees over each time. So Jen, I would start with both knees down, and then think about bringing your hips lower. So that'll be an easier position to get into rather than trying to force your knee down. Yeah, good, that looks better. Good, team. So rest as needed there. Once everyone's gone through those first 20 reps, we'll then go through our next one. How do you stop edging forward with each rep? So do you mean edging your hips forward? So as long as you're keeping your chest tall, and as you circle over, make sure you've got some weight in your glutes there. So try not to lean forward too much, I think is what you're meaning. Okay, so once you've made up those 20 reps, you can rest up. I'd recommend, again, 20 to 30 seconds of rest, and then we're going to go for one more set of 20. Okay, now for these ones, make it a little bit harder. When you find that position first, what you can do as you rotate over is get your hips up, finish that rep with the hips through the top. Okay, that's going to activate your glutes a little bit more, make it a little bit tougher. Okay, if you've got something like a plate or a kettlebell, you can hold that in front of you. That's going to force your chest up as well. Put a little bit more weight down through those hips. Okay, so if you're feeling pretty comfortable with this one, want to make it a little bit tougher, grab yourself a weighted object, put it out in front of you. That's going to force your hips down, keep your chest tall, and then finish that rep with hips through the top. Okay, again, make it a little bit tougher. Okay, close to the screen. Like, yeah, so if you're getting close to the screen, just make sure as you rotate over, you've got some weight in your glutes. So your hips are going to stay down, and it's just going to be your knees that flip over, rather than you having to shift forward with your hips to allow that. Okay. So make up those 20 reps again. Make sure as that stretch gets easier and easier, you think about increasing your resistance. Okay, so if you're not feeling those reps too much just now, again, get yourself a weighted object, keep that chest tall, or potentially finish with your hips through the top of the rep. Good, nice steady, working through those 20 reps there. And then once you've made up those reps, you can rest up. So again, this one to start with will be quite tough. So I would always start with a couple of hip stretches like the ones we've just been through. Mobilize those hips first before you go into this one. Nice work, team. Get those 20 reps in. We're then going to move over to our T-spine. Okay, so our shoulders and then through our upper middle back as well. Now this one is going to help you, especially with our overhead squats, so allowing that bar to stay back and unlock that overhead position. Okay, those, if you struggle with that, these ones are going to be especially helpful for you. Okay, so cat cows are going to be our first one. Now chances are we've all done this in the bonus work after classes. You're setting up from your hands and knees. You're going to keep your core tight, start with your back nice and flat, hands underneath your shoulders, and then a straight line from your hip through your knee. Okay? From there, first one, we're going to go for our cat stretch. Okay, so you're going to drive your upper back through the ceiling. As you do that, press your hands down, and you're going to create as much of an arch through your back as you can. Okay, as you drive up, you should feel that stretch all the way through the upper middle back there. Okay, from there, you're going to hold for a second. You're then going to reverse that. So get your chest tall, shoulders back and down. Create your arch in the opposite direction. Let your belly button come down through the floor. That's going to be one. You're then going to come into that cat again for rep number 2. Upper back drives through the ceiling. Drive your hands down. And then do the exact opposite. Get your chest through, shoulders back and down. Okay? So you're going to make up 10 reps there, and then you can then rest. Okay? So when you're ready, team, start off there. Start with that cat. Drive your hands through the floor. You're trying to get as much range of motion through your upper middle back as you can. So yeah, Fiona, that's where that stretch increases, keeping your chest up whilst trying to rotate over. So ideally, all the way through that, your back's going to remain neutral, because that's going to then create that transfer even more over to our squat. Okay, so as soon as your back starts to round, we then don't have the same transfer to our squat. Okay? Good team. So make up those 10 reps. We'll then rest, go for another set. Okay, as you go through that, each time you change from an arch into that cat position, you should be able to force a little more range through your shoulders there. So this one will not only help with unlocking that overhead squat, it'll also help with our front rack when we get back to things like front squats and cleans. Okay, so 10 reps, you can then rest as needed. So again, 20, 30 seconds, just allow yourself a little bit of rest, and then you go for 10 more reps, okay? Again, the more reps you go through, we should be able to get our shoulders to a little more range, force the upper back a little bit higher through the ceiling, okay? So make up those first 10 reps, rest as needed, and then go for one more set of 10 there. Good, so each time you're forcing those hands through the floor, drive your upper back through the ceiling, and then do the exact opposite. Roll your shoulders back and down, get your chest through, eyes forward. Good, so you make up those 10 reps there, and then you can then rest up. Okay, so you can finish off those 10 reps there, but we're going to talk through our next one. Okay, so if you're still working, just finish off, and then talk through our pronated prayer stretch, which is going to be our next one. Okay, so if you've got a bar, dumbbell, potentially a foam roller, can you grab that? We're going to use it for this next one. Okay, again, focus is still on loosen off those shoulders, loosen off the T-spine, so up, middle, back, and then loosen off our lats as well. Okay, so for this one, if you've got something like a dumbbell, potentially a bar or a foam roller, all we're going to do is set up from our hands and knees there. One hand is either going to come underneath your dumbbell or in contact with your bar or foam roller. Okay, so dumbbell, you're going to grip hold of the dumbbell. For bar or foam roller, you're going to rest your hand and rest on top of the bar or foam roller there. Okay, so from there, you're going to turn your palm up to the ceiling and then sink your chest and shoulders down towards the floor. Okay, so your shoulders ideally are going to stay square here. That palm's going to stay up towards the ceiling, and your armpit's going to sink down towards the floor. Okay, as you sink close to the floor, you'll then feel that stretch through your shoulder, through the lat, and then potentially a little bit through the upper middle back. Okay, so if you've got that dumbbell, grab hold, get your palm up towards the ceiling, and then sink down. Use that dumbbell to hold your hand down towards the floor, and then your goal is to sink your chest down so it touches the floor. Okay, now you're going to hold that for 30 seconds and then swap sides. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll go in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So turn that palm up towards the ceiling, get your armpit down towards the floor, try keep the arm pretty straight. And then shoulders square if you can. Good team, almost there, 10 seconds. See if you can force that shoulder a little bit further down. Keep that palm facing up. 3, 2, 1. Okay, 10 seconds, let you change over. We're then going to swap sides. So make sure as your chest comes down, your palm is going to want to rotate in towards you. Make sure you keep that hand facing up. Okay, we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Off you go. So swap sides there. Don't let that hand internally rotate, so don't let it rotate towards you. Keep your hand facing up. Try to keep the arm straight, force the armpit down. Nice work, guys. You got 10 seconds. Force your shoulders even close to the floor if you can. Again, you should feel that stretch increase through your lat. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Very nice. Okay, so rest up. I'll give you 30 seconds rest, and then we're going to go for that once more. Okay, again, as you sink down, you should be feeling that through the lat, a little bit through the back of the shoulder, and then potentially through your upper middle back as well. Okay, main target there is to keep your palm facing up. That's when you'll then feel that stretch a little bit more through the lat rather than through your shoulder too much. Okay, 10 more seconds rest, and then we'll go back to the start. So as we come to the second one, you should be able to get a little more range, get your armpit a little bit closer to the floor. Okay, we'll go in 3, 2, 1. So back to the start there, 30 seconds again. Good, let that chest fall down. Keep your shoulders square if you can. Think about pulling your thumb towards the floor. That'll keep your palm facing up. Good work, team. 10 seconds left. Sink a little bit lower down. Increase that stretch. 3, 2, 1. Okay, 10 seconds to change over. If you're using a bar or foam roller and that pressure's too much to your wrist, just grab something like a towel or a t-shirt and wrap it around the bar just to ease off that pressure on the wrist. Okay, we'll go again in 3, 2, 1. Off you go. So final 30 seconds here. Again, we're trying to feel as much of a stretch through that lat, through the back of the shoulder as we can. Keep that arm straight, keep that palm facing up. You've got 10 seconds left. Force the armpit a little bit further down if you can. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Okay, very nice. Now I'll give you a second and then we'll talk through our last movement for our mobility protocol. Okay, again, focused on those shoulders, but then we're going to put it all together by sitting in the bottom of the squat. Okay, so then you're going to unlock those ankles, hips, and then up through our shoulders as well. Okay, so for this one, we're going to go for our bootstrappers with thoracic rotations, but as we did in our first week, we're going to spend a little more time focusing on that bootstrapper position first. Okay, so setting up in that squat. Ideally, I've got my feet underneath my hips. If you need to bring your feet slightly further out, you can do for this. Okay, toes are going to be slightly rotated out, but not too much forward just now. Okay, now from there, I'm then going to corkscrew my feet. So I'm going to twist the floor apart. As you do that, you'll feel your glutes switch on. Okay, so twist your feet out. You'll feel your glutes switch on. As I do that, I've got my big toe, pinky toe, and heel, all three driven through the floor. Okay, from there, I'm then going to send my hips back and down. As I do that, I'm going to drive my knees out. That's going to keep my chest tall, allow me to sit into that full depth squat. Okay, we're only going as low as we can before we have to relax into that squat there. Okay, so angle my back is going to stay neutral. So from standing tall, the line through my shoulders, through my hip should not change as I sit down. Okay, once I find that full depth squat, I'm then going to grab hold of my toes. That's going to help me force weight towards my heels. And then I'm going to lodge my elbows as close to my knees as I possibly can. Okay, that's where we're going to change this from just running through reps to a little more of a stretch. Okay, so elbows as close to your hip as you can. You're then going to drive your knees as far out as you can, keeping that chest tall. Okay, you should be feeling that stretch all the way through the inside hip, a little bit through those hip flexors as well. Okay, now once I find that full depth squat and drive my knees out, I'm then going to send my hips up to the sky, extend my legs as much as I can, and then once I find that stretch, I'm going to sit back down to that squat there. Okay, now from there, I'm then going to bring my left hand to my right foot, and then my right hand is going to come up round to the ceiling. Okay, it's going to stay nice and close to my chest. Both heels are going to stay in contact with the floor there. I'm going to follow that hand up and round towards the sky, hold for a second, and then come back down. Okay, that's where we're going to feel that stretch through our shoulders and through our middle back there. Okay, once I found that stretch, I'm then going to come back down. Right foot is going to come to left hand. I'm going to rotate up and round, hold for a second, and then back in. Okay, that's one. You're then going to get your elbows nice and close to your knees, drive your knees out, and go for reps 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so 5 reps in total. Feel free to stand up out of that squat if you need to. Chances are this will be pretty tough on those quads. Okay, so when you're ready, make up 5 reps. So to start with, sit down into that squat. Make sure you corkscrew those feet out. From there, grab hold of your toes. Get your elbows as close to your knees as you can. Remember, make sure we're not sitting too low into that squat. That angle of back changes. Okay, once you drive your knees out, you can then send your hips up to the sky. Feel that stretch to the hamstrings, look through the legs. And then back into that squat. Go left hand to right foot. Rotate up and round, follow that hand to the sky. Pause for a second, and then come back in. Okay, swap sides, so bring your right foot to your left hand. And then rotate up and round. Okay, as you rotate, make sure that chest stays tall. You want to follow your hand up to the ceiling. So finish off that rep with your eyes up towards the sky. Okay, make up those 5 reps there. Again, this one will be tough, but we're putting together all of our ranges, so our ankle, our hip, and our shoulders. Okay, so make up those 5 reps. Break up however you need to. You can go for 1 rep at a time, stand up out the squat, shake out the legs. Just do whatever you need to make up those reps. Good, team. So it's just going to be 1 set here. Take your time with those 5 reps. You want to unlock as much range as you can. So if you keep falling over, go for that squat again, and we'll see which way you're falling. So if you want to go back up to the start, before you sit down, make sure big toe and pinky toe stay in contact with the floor. Okay, so although you want your weight towards your heels, I'm not squatting down like that. Okay, give yourself as much of a platform to work from as you can, stay flat-footed, and then sit down to your squat. Good, that looks better. So that was better. Just make sure, again, you have a little bit of weight in your toes. Okay, so don't sit too far back. So you had it there. So if you can, grab yourself any sort of rise you can find. So books like Jen's got, just whatever you can find so that you can put underneath your heels. Okay, so again, it can be books, pillows, folded up towels, just anything you can find really. If you've got your lifters there, you can wear those as well. Good, team. Take your time, make up those 5 reps. Yeah, all that's going to do is allow a slight lift of the heel, make it a little bit easier to send your knee over your toe. Good, so if you do struggle with sitting into that squat, it'll be a quick fix. It won't help you too much in the long run, but find yourself a pair of lifters or just anything with a slight lift in your heels will make it a little easier. Okay, again, ideally we should be able to do this barefoot if possible, but for a quick fix, you can grab yourself something with just a slightly raised heel there. Okay, so make up those 5 reps, and then you can rest up, we're going to talk through our receiving position for our snatch next. You will need your bar or lock panel, PVC, whatever you're using. So chances are, if you're only using lifters, I think because of your ankle range of motion. So practicing our first section there, so our ankle stretches, so from your hands and knees, push your knee over your toe, that's the main one that's going to help you. So you're able to send your hips back and down, which means your hips are mobile enough. It's just allowing your knee to go over your toe there. So again, lifters are a quick fix for allowing a little bit more range to your ankle, okay? So ankle dorsiflexion one, so our first couple stretches are going to be the best ones for you. Okay, so we're going to come into our positional work next. Okay, so again, benefit of doing this after a little mobility section, a little mobility protocol is it helps solidify the range that you've just gained. Okay, so if you're now feeling a little bit looser, you can now send your knee even further over your toe. Great. Going into end of range, so into a squat, is going to help, again, solidify that range so you don't have to go back to the start next time you come to mobility. Okay? So first one, all we're going to go for is our tempo overhead squat. Okay, so picking up where we left off last week. So can you all grab your bars? We're going to come into our squat first. If you need to stick on a pair of shoes for this, you can do. Okay? So as we did last week, you're going to start with those hands nice and wide. Oh, Greg, I got you twice. I don't know how that's possible. Okay. So hands nice and wide. Ideally, that bar is going to sit in at your hip crease. Okay? So pretty much where your t-shirt or hoodie ends and your trousers start. Okay? It's not going to be in at your hip bone. It's going to be slightly lower. Okay? Now, from there, we're going to go for a couple of pass-throughs just as a safety check. So working those hands round, keeping those arms straight. Ideally, we're going to have a full grip on our bar there. Okay, just go for a couple reps. Make sure in your chosen grip, you can complete that full pass-through. Again, just for shoulder health and safety there. Okay, if you can't do a pass-through, pop your hands slightly wider forward just now. If you can, it's super easy, and you've had to start with your hands quite wide, so the bar is, say, in at your belly button or something, bring your hands in a little bit closer if you can complete those pass-throughs. Okay, so again, bar should be in at your hip crease, ideally. Okay? Now, from there, we're going to pop that PVC mop panel, whatever you've got, up over the crown of your head. Okay? So main goal there, as we said last week, it's going to stay over the crown of your head there, so over your center of mass, ideally side on. That bar is going to sit over your shoulders, over your hips, and over your heels or towards your midfoot. Okay, depending on the size of your feet. Okay? Now, from there, I'm going to drive that bar through the ceiling. Now, again, I'm not shrugging up. I'm driving my shoulders up through the bar. My upper back is moving up as well. Okay, so in that position there, you should be able to shrug up if you need to. We don't want to be stuck in that position as we try to squat down. Okay, so from there, actively driving that bar through the ceiling, making sure there's no bend in my elbows. I'm going to send my hips back and down, keep my chest tall, keep my weight through my heels, and then that bar again should stay over your center of mass there. Okay, you're going to sit as low as you can. Again, making sure the angle of the back stays the same and our weight stays in our heels. And then you can then stand up and relax. Okay? So wherever you're able to sit down to there, that's going to be your end position for our next one. Okay, so we're going to go for our tempo overhead squats. We're going to send 4 seconds going down, 4 seconds in the bottom of your overhead squat, and then 1 second standing up and resetting. Okay? So again, wherever you're able to hit in that overhead squat, that's where you're going to stop. Okay, so potentially you went down to there, that's fine. You're going to take 4 seconds from standing tall to go down into that position. Okay, if you start all the way down to the squat, great. You're going to spend 4 seconds moving from extension down to the bottom of your squat. Okay, we're going to make up 5 reps here. Okay, so take your time with each one. Go for those points to drive that bar through the ceiling. Make sure we can shrug up so we're not driving through our traps. We're driving through our upper back and through our shoulders. Okay, hips are going to go back and down. You're going to spend 4 seconds on the descent, traveling down, hit the bottom of the squat, pause for 4 seconds there, and then you can then stand tall, reset. Okay? Make up 5 reps there, team. So nice and steady, control that descent. 4 seconds down, hit that depth, wherever you feel comfortable. Pause for 4 seconds, and then stand tall again. Now, as you do that, if you're unsure of where the bar is, you can control that bar down, just touch over the crown of your head, make sure it's where you want it, and then you can then stand tall, okay? Make up those 5 reps, team. Nice, you want to bring that bar a little bit further back if you can, about an inch further back. Good, that's better. Nice, Greg, yeah, just keep those eyes forward. Nice, Tony. Same for you. Really nice squat. Just make sure those eyes stay forward. And although that bar is light just now, keep pressing up through the ceiling, all the way down, all the way up. Okay? Really nice, team. Go for 5 squats, and then you can then rest. Okay, so once you're through those 5, rest up. We're going to move on to our next one. Okay? So if you're still working, that's fine. Complete those 5 squats. We're going to talk through our next one. Okay? Now, this is going to be our squat press. So again, we did this last week. If you were here, all we're going to do is work our way down, ideally into the bottom of the squat or whatever we feel comfortable. Okay? Making sure as I sit down to that squat, angle of the back stays the same. I keep my chest tall. Okay? You're going to gain more from just going from slight flex your hips and your knees and going for your squat press there than you will from trying to press down here. Okay? Make sure that chest stays tall, back stays flat. Whatever that position is for you, that's fine. Okay, so main things for our squat press. Bar's going to start on the back of our shoulders. So just in between our traps and our shoulders there. I'm going to get my elbows underneath that bar, core nice and tight. I'm just going to start with 5 behind the neck strict presses there. Okay, so get the idea for pressing from our shoulders up over the crown of our head and then back down. Okay, again, ideally that bar pass is going to be nice and straight. As I finish that rep, I'm going to drive my upper back through the ceiling, create that shelf with my shoulders, and then come back to the start. Okay? If that felt good, great. We're going to send our hips back and down, slight flexion our hips and our knees there. Go for 5 reps. If that felt good, you're going to sit a little bit lower down, just about parallel. Go for 5 reps there. If that felt good, sit all the way down to that squat. Make sure, again, we can get our elbows underneath that bar. Okay? Don't push yourself too far into that squat. It's going to hurt your shoulders if you have to press from there. That's a really hard position to press from. Make sure that chest can stay tall. You can get your elbows underneath that bar, regardless of where in that squat you are. Okay? So again, start with your behind the neck strict presses. Go for 5 reps there. If that felt good, you're going to just flex your hips, flex your knees. Go for 5 reps again. So just a couple inches down to that squat. Again, make sure you can hold that form. Keep that chest tall. Make sure we start each rep with elbows underneath that bar. Good, team. If that 5 reps felt good, you're going to sit just above parallel. Go for 5 reps again. Again, make sure that chest stays tall. 5 reps there. And then our final option is going to be full depth squat. 5 reps there. Okay. Great one again for opening up our overhead squat. And then drilling the idea of pressing up against the bar as well when we sit down to our overhead squat. Okay? You're just going to find whatever range works for you. If a slight flex in hips and knees is enough, that's fine. Okay, just stick there for just now. You're going to make up those 5 reps and then you can rest. Okay, so once you've found your range, so whether that again is there or there, we're going to go for one more set of 5 squat press. Okay, so rest as needed. You're going to find whatever range motion you found last time. So again, if it's here, we're going to go for 5 reps there. If it's all the way down to our squat, we're going to go for 5 squat press there. Okay, so when you're ready, team, go for one more set of 5 squat press at whatever your final squat was. Okay, so your toughest variation there. Take your time, attack 1 rep at a time, get those elbows underneath that bar. So again, if this is really tough in the shoulders and you're struggling to press that bar up, chances are your chest has gone too low. Okay, so we want to keep that torso as upright as we can. That's going to make it easier for those shoulders to press. Okay, if you think it's really hard to press a bar from there, straight upwards. Okay? So go for your 5. Good. And then once you do 5 reps, you can rest up. You can ditch the PVC or mop panel, whatever you've got just now. Okay? So if you're still work through those 5 reps. If not, we're going to go for our drop squat. Okay? So drill in that idea of getting underneath the bar. Okay? So main thing we're focusing on here is we're starting with our feet underneath our hips. So wherever we started that snatch pull that we did in our first week. Okay? So pretty close to our deadlift stance. Toes pointed slightly further out. Okay? Now from here, our goal is to reach a max depth squat while making sure we move our feet and obviously our form isn't compromised. Okay? So from our snatch pull starting position, all I'm going to do is drop down into my squat without moving my hips up at all. Okay? So I'm going to pick up my feet. Hips don't rise. So from standing tall, again, feet are going to be underneath my hips wherever I'm going to start my snatch. I'm then going to pick my feet up. Hips are just going to drop down into that squat and then stand, bring those feet back in. Okay? We're going to make up 5 reps here. Now, when you land, make sure you set your feet, weight is to the middle of your foot, slightly more towards your heels. I'm balanced. My chest is tall, and then I'm driving my knees out. Okay? If that's too much, you're just going to drop down into wherever you can. Okay? So whether it's a slight flex, whether it's just about parallel, or whether it's a full depth squat, whatever it is, just find one that works for you. Okay? So start with your feet in that snatch pull position. Without those hips rising, you're going to drop down, pick your feet up off the floor, and then set them into that squat. Okay? So what I mean is, as I drop down, my hips are going to sink. That then means my feet are going to lift up. Okay? So as I drop, if I try to drop my hips without moving my feet, I'm just going to sit down. Okay? So I have to pick my feet up. So as my hips drop, I can then set down into that squat. Okay? So from there, bring your feet up off the floor. As you do that, drop your hips, and then you'll then find yourself in the bottom of that squat. So make up 5 reps there, team, and then rest. Remember, just land wherever you feel comfortable. You don't have to land too low in that squat for just now. So if you're sitting down but not managing to pick your feet up, make sure before you start, the first thing you're going to do is get your feet off the floor and then think about dropping your hips. Okay? That's then going to be our transfer over to our snatch and receiving position. Okay? So gel, not like a jump. So if you think about a jump, as you extend, your hips continue to rise. Okay, that's not what we want. That's not what we want from a snatch. If you think when you snatch, you reach as tall as you can, and then your hips have to drop. Okay, they can't continue to rise with the bar. So you're going to go from standing tall. All you're going to think about doing is dropping your hips straight down. But as you do that, move your feet out into your squat. Okay, so feet become weightless. As I do that, my hips drop down. I then find myself into the bottom of the squat. Okay? So main difference between this and the jump is our hips don't continue to rise. Okay? Go for those 5 reps and then you can rest him. Okay, so this is just our drop squat again, a nice easy one to help unlock the idea of dropping straight down into that squat. Okay? Now, for our next one, we're going to go for our drop snatch. Okay, so you'll need that bar, PVC mop panel, whatever you've got. Okay, it's going to be very similar to our drop squat, except now we're going to add in that barbell and the idea of pressing up over our heads. Okay, so as we did for that SOTS press, as I extend my arms, I'm going to make sure that bar stays over the crown of my head and my chest stays tall. There's no flex in my elbows there. Okay. Now, as I do that, I'm going to go for my drop squat. So I'm going to pick my feet up, my hips are going to drop, and then I'm going to extend my arms. Okay? So from that starting position that we had in our drop squat, I'm going to pick my feet up, drop my hips, get down into that squat. Okay? Now, as my feet land, I'm going to drive up against that bar, extend my arms, get that bar to the crown of your head. Okay? So first off, we're going to pick our feet up, drop our hips, just as we did in our drop squat. And then as my feet land again, I'm going to extend my arms, get my chest tall. Okay? Now, when you're ready, make up 5 reps there, but this is just going to be one at a time. Take your time moving through those 5 reps. There's no rush here. Okay, so start with those feet wherever you're going to start your snatch. Make sure as you start that rep, those elbows are underneath that bar. And then when you're ready, pick your feet up, drop your hips, extend those arms. Good team, really nice. Make sure when you drop down to that squat, we're actively pressing up on that bar. Good, and then no rush to get out of that receiving position. So once you find that overhead squat, take your time, pause there, make sure the bar's where you want it, make sure the weight's in your heels, and then you can then stand up. Okay, again, make sure you don't rush these reps. Nice, Greg. So next one, if you can, rather than, so just now you're picking up your heels, make sure you pick up your full foot. Okay, so as I leave the ground, my feet are going to rise up and then drop. Okay, so it's not onto the toes and then drop. It's feet come off the floor, hips drop into that squat. Okay, so your full foot should leave the floor there. There you go. Very nice. That's much better. Good. Only thing to fix now is bring that bar a little bit further over your head, but apart from that, you got it. Okay, so once you're through those 5 reps there, team, you can rest up. We're going to go for one more set, and then we are done. Okay? So again, this one's called the drop snatch. Great one for putting in before your snatch session, just to drill the idea of getting underneath that bar, setting that solid receiving position. Okay? How do I keep chest up? So mobility is your short answer. But yeah, making sure you can keep your knees driven out over your toes whilst keeping that chest up is going to be your main thing. Okay, so for just now, don't drop yourself too low that you then lose that upright torso. Okay, so again, that one, this receiving position is going to be far more beneficial than going too low and letting that chest drop. Okay, so just find whatever depth into that squat is good for you. Keep practicing there, and then as you then unlock those ankles, mobilize your hips a little bit more by doing mobility protocol that we did to start with. That's then going to help you set a little bit lower down to that squat. Okay? Okay, when you're ready, team, make up 5 more reps, and then you're done. Okay? So 5 more drop snatches. Again, take it 1 rep at a time. Make sure you set those feet back in. As you drop down, elbows underneath that bar, pick your feet up, get down into that squat, actively drive those arms up. Okay, again, no rush out with that bottom of the squat. Take your time there, make sure the bar's where you want it, and then you can then stand up. Okay? Nice, Joe. Bring the bar a couple inches further over your head. Good, that's better. Should be a little bit easier on the shoulders there. Nice, doing a really nice catch. Just make sure you extend those elbows all the way if you can. Good work, Anne-Marie. So next one, same idea with your feet. This time, as you land that squat, just drive up a little bit harder with those shoulders. Okay, that'll help stabilize the bar a little bit more, stop it from moving forward or backwards. Okay? Good, that was better. So you're just driving up against that bar a little bit harder, and then it'll be easier to keep that bar where you want it. Okay? So yeah, good. Next one, we'll stand up out of it, but yeah. Okay, so 5 reps there, and then you can rest up. Okay, that's us done. That's the hard part done. So again, main goal today, all we do to start off with our sessions is unlock your body. Okay, so if you start super tight, if we then try practice things like receiving the bar in overhead squat, it's never going to go well. Okay, so go through that mobility protocol. If you can remember it, if you understand it, that's great. You can then start to implement it in your own training. Go through that first. That's then going to help you move through a fuller range of motion and then make it easier to drop down into like receiving position of a snatch or receiving position of a clean. Okay? Any questions you've got, I'll keep the chat open for a couple minutes. Just drop them into the comments there. I'll answer any of them. But if not, have a great night, team. I'll see you all in a class Chancellor on Friday if you want to tune into the live, watch me die on 7 minutes of burpees. But if not, I'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, actually. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys. See you
Sounds like
later.
levitating. So,
Thank you.
so it's not quite levitating. All you do is pick your feet up, so then it's easier to drop your hips down.
He can't hear.
Stop this.
You do chat.